Let me ask you something. What did your parents teach you about money? Because that answer, it's everything. See, I grew up with two dads. One was my biological father, highly educated, hardworking, responsible. The other, the father of my best friend, barely finished high school, but financially free by his early 30s. One struggled with bills his whole life. The other built empires. Same world, same city, two completely different outcomes. And that contrast changed my life. The real difference wasn't about how much money they made. It was about how they thought about money. My real dad, the poor dad, believed in security. Get a good education, find a safe job, work hard, retire with a pension. Sound familiar? But the rich dad? He believed in freedom. Learn how money works. Make it work for you. Don't trade time for money. Own assets that pay you even while you sleep. That was the first big lesson. The rich don't work for money. They make money work for them. When I heard that for the first time, it hit me hard. I realized I had a choice. I could follow the traditional path and hope it worked out, or I could learn how the wealthy think, move, and build. And I chose to learn. This audiobook isn't just about financial tips. It's about mindset, a total rewiring of how you see money, jobs, security, and freedom. Let's get personal. When I was younger, I thought success meant working harder. So I got a job, showed up early, stayed late. But I was stuck. The paycheck came and went. The bills never stopped. And no matter how hard I worked, I wasn't getting ahead. Until I started asking different questions. Not, how can I make more? But, how can I own more? That's what Rich Dad taught me. He taught me that financial education is more powerful than a degree. That understanding taxes, corporations, cash flow, and debt can make or break your wealth. He showed me the 4 types of people in the world of money: employees, self-employed, business owners, and investors. Most people stay stuck in the first 2. The wealthy play in the last 2. Why? Because business owners and investors create systems that make money without them being present. That's leverage. That's freedom. And here's the kicker. We're not taught any of this in school. Schools teach us how to be employees, not how to be financially free. We learn how to pass tests, not how to read balance sheets. We memorize history, but we don't learn the history of money. That's why this audiobook matters. It gives you what the system won't. It gives you the mindset of the wealthy, broken down in real stories and real talk. It pushes you to rethink everything you thought you knew about earning, saving, and spending. Because here's the truth. Assets make you rich. Liabilities keep you broke. Most people confuse the two. They buy fancy cars, big houses, expensive gadgets, thinking it's wealth. But if it's not putting money in your pocket every month, it's not an asset. It's a trap. Rich Dad taught me to buy assets. Real estate, stocks, businesses, intellectual property, things that work for you. Poor Dad taught me to work for things, to play it safe, to avoid risk. But avoiding risk doesn't mean you're safe. It often means you stay stuck. You know what's truly risky? Depending on one source of income, having no financial education, living paycheck to paycheck in a world that's constantly shifting. Rich Dad showed me another way. He taught me how to think in cash flow, not just income. How to measure wealth in time, not dollars. How to see opportunity where others see danger. And he taught me this: it doesn't matter how much you make. It matters how much you keep. This audiobook is a wake-up call. If you've ever felt like you're meant for more, if you're tired of the rat race, if you're ready to build real freedom, not just survival, then this is your moment. Don't just listen. Learn, apply, build. Because the difference between rich and poor isn't income. It's intention. It's education. It's courage. And now, you have all 3. Let me tell you a story from my own life. A few years ago, I started a side hustle. Just something small, flipping used electronics online. It wasn't glamorous, but I started tracking every dollar, every expense, every return. For the first time, I treated even a side gig like a business, not a job. I reinvested the profits. I learned how to negotiate deals. I found a niche and scaled. That $100 side hustle became a $10,000 yearly passive stream, and more importantly, it taught me how money flows, how inventory works, how margins matter. Another friend of mine? She was an accountant, solid job, decent pay, but always broke by month end. Until she read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It hit her hard. She realized she was working for money with no plan to build freedom. So she bought her first rental property, scary, risky, but backed by research and planning. 1 year later, that property paid her more in passive income than she made working extra hours. Today, she owns 5 units, manages them remotely, and her 9 to 5 is now optional. It's funny. When I started diving into these lessons, I was still stuck in the cycle of going to work every day, managing the same struggles everyone else faces. Bills piled up, the rent was due, and no matter how hard I worked, I felt like I was treading water. I would hear my peers talk about getting promotions, climbing the corporate ladder, and increasing their incomes. But it didn't feel like enough. No matter how much I earned, I wasn't truly getting ahead. I had to admit to myself that I wasn't actually building the life I wanted. That's when Rich Dad's lessons about assets and liabilities really began to sink in. I wasn't seeing returns on my savings, and all I was doing was accumulating a sense of fear about the future. Rich Dad didn't teach me to save money in a traditional sense. He taught me to make my money work for me even while I slept. The difference was clear. The rich invest in assets, things that appreciate over time, rather than liabilities which drain money. To be honest, this was a complete paradigm shift for me. There was a moment, I'll never forget it, when I realized I had been playing the wrong game. I looked at my bank account and saw stability, but not growth. That's when I took a leap. I enrolled in a weekend real estate workshop. I met people who were living examples of Rich Dad's principles. They weren't flashy. They were strategic. They talked about cash flow, equity, leverage. I went home that weekend not just inspired, but armed. I bought my first property 6 months later. It was a small duplex, nothing fancy, but it cash flowed $400 a month after expenses. That one property gave me the confidence to buy another. And another. I stopped chasing income and started building wealth. The truth is, Rich Dad's teachings aren't just financial, they're transformational. They make you question everything. Your career path, your spending habits, your future. They give you the tools to take control. And once you taste that freedom, you can't go back. This is Rich Dad versus Poor Dad. The mindset shift that can change everything. And this is just the beginning. If you found value in this audiobook breakdown and these life-changing insights, don't forget to like this video, share it with a friend who needs to hear it, and subscribe to our channel for more empowering content like this. For access to the full audiobook, check the link in the description below.